Okay. Hey everyone, we're back. We are back, and hopefully everything's going to be working fine this time. So, Ruby, I didn't get a chance to ask you before we started a little bit of intro about yourself. So, tell us about who you are, what you're doing right now.
So, hi Deanna, hi everyone out
Hi.
there. So I'm a local filmmaker, entrepreneur, producer, director. I also work at a nonprofit here in town. And I mean, I actually just do a lot of stuff. Right now, I'm working on a documentary. I've worked on some local projects. I also host my own podcast as well. It's a video podcast, and I own a production company called Millennial Media. And our podcast is also called The Millennials. And so we call ourselves Millennials because it's just like we wanted to create a real, like a generation of people that just talk about real stuff. So we really focus on brown and black stories. We want to just kind of tell it how it is, tell stories that are actually happening to, a lot of times millennials, but we don't want to box it in that way. But we're just working on projects and trying to get those stories out there right now, and trying to be as involved as we can in the Kansas City community and help all of the creative brown people in our city, get their projects and their visions put together.
Absolutely. So, if anybody wants to get a hold of Ruby, how can they get a hold of you?
So I'm on Instagram, so you can look me up as Real Ruby Montoya. Also, I guess on Facebook too. Hit me up on Facebook.
There you go.
Yeah, just friend me, send me a message. Honestly, you'll probably have to hit me up a couple of times because most of the time people are calling me to get in touch with me. But I will reach out when I get the chance to.
Absolutely. And that honesty is always the best thing, right? I mean, because we all are busy and it's been a crazy time. So now I appreciate you co-hosting with me on this amazing podcast with two amazing guests that we're about to have. So you and I have been trying to do this for a while, and I'm glad that we finally got the chance to do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is long overdue. We've been waiting to be on a platform together for a long time.
Exactly. So this won't be the last time for sure.
Oh, no, it's not.
With that, we're going to introduce Sergio Acosta and Rudy Youngblood. Let's get them on our stream, and hopefully everything's working good. Hey, guys, how are you?
Hi. Thanks for having us.
I'm good.
Sweet.
We can hear you. This is great.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear us okay?
You guys are kind of breaking up. I'm just trying to put two and two together.
Okay.
Rudy's going to roll with the punches. I guarantee you. He's going to be fine.
Exactly. So with that, let's go ahead and start. Sergio, do you want to introduce yourself and what you're doing right now? And
Sure. Sergio Acosta. Kind of wear a lot of hats. I'm talking to you from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, Jalisco. One of the things I'm working on right now is a environmental campaign to save one of the last rivers that isn't dammed. Working with the local community and stuff, and I'll send you a link to that. And we're trying to get, right now we're the second most popular ecological campaign in Mexico. And so trying to get 1 million signatures. I think we're at 650 now. And just kind of in post-production on a few projects and pre-production on a few others and writing on new projects. So yeah, kind of all over the place. But down here I have a bar and a hostel. So I'm trying to get more musicians and artists to come travel to and stay at from Kansas City particularly.
Ooh. I'm there.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you're going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
While we talk, for sure. Rudy, how are you? Can you tell us a little bit about who you are? Hopefully he can hear. Can you hear me? You want to try Ruby? Maybe the.
Hey, Rudy, can you hear me? No, I don't think you can hear me either.
You're breaking up.
He can't see the chat, can he?
Mm-mm. He's on his phone, so he can't see it. Okay.
Rudy, tell us about yourself. Should I write it on a piece of paper?
My name is Rudy, and I'm First Nation, Native, I'm on the what you would call reservation. Take a look. This is
Oh,
what you get.
wow.
It reminds me of Southwest Kansas, where I grew up.
I'm gonna get fat being out here. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Let me ask you a question. You say uh, you call yourself millennials, and
I guess this is to Ruby.
uh,
Real-lennials.
Yes.
So it's like real plus millennial smashed together, super original sort of situation. But yeah, that's what we call ourselves. And I'm trying to make it stick, I'm trying to make it like get bigger so people will call themselves millennials, because you don't necessarily have to identify with millennials, because we get a bad rap, right? I would consider myself a millennial, but I would more so consider myself a realennial. That's a ageless generation of people that say real stuff.
you know the big problem is that nobody really knows history. That's the problem.
Like the general
You want to
population.
learn something, then look back in history. I speak 5 different languages, and I know my history. I know where I come from. I know who I am. The whole Black Lives Matter is a situation that has been happening to us from day one.
Mhm.
And nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. But at the same time, now you have this whole epidemic from millennials. Uh, I think it's kind of funny because it's why doesn't people focus themselves on um, healthcare, poverty, people that really need help,
Mhm.
homeless people? You know, there's a lot of people that are out of jobs and they have kids, they have a family. Why not focus your energy on something that's actually worth something? And I mean that's what I think about it. To be honest with you, um, to me, nobody's actually nobody's actually really lived life. Like I've been on my own since I was 9 years old. I know life.
Yeah.
I've died once, and I hope I don't. I plan on. I don't want to die again, but that was out of my hands. But it is what it is. But at the same time, people want to talk on a political standpoint, but at the same time, they don't look at themselves. You know, you have a lot of people that are millennials uh, throwing parties and all kinds of stuff. Uh, let's see who gets the COVID, but like they think it's a joke. It's not a joke. A lot of
Mm-mm.
people pass away, and I've had a lot of friends pass away from this, and it's a horrible situation. It's bad enough that everybody has to deal with poverty and people don't have food to eat. Now you got to worry about this. It's a scenario that it's not about black lives or anything like that. We're all one. We're all
Mhm.
one people. We're one nation. We need to unite together to grow with each other. There is no such thing. there was at one point in time no border. So from Canada to Mexico, there was no border. If you want to learn history, I know history. And, it's a thing that is very, how do you say, it's very saddening because people want to judge or they make a predicament of whatever scenario that's going on towards themselves. Like, it's like, look at me, help me, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you help everybody else? Like, help. It's always better if you lend your hand out to help someone. It's always great to help someone.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs help. Everybody. So, I mean, that's how I feel about it. Like, that's my thing. So,
I think it's important to remember also that we all have a special thing that we can do to help people with. So, like, we have filmmakers in this podcast right now, and we may not be able to, go medically help people or be there in person because obviously, we have to all be safe. But what we can do is share stories. What we can do is, give people a voice, help people bring those stories to life. So I agree with you, Rudy. I think that we also have to use our gifts to help, to help everybody out. And I think, I feel like Sergio's also out there in Mexico, putting his filmmaker skills to use and his, activism to go get that. What is it? The last river. That's not
the
dammed.
last river that's not dammed up here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we lost Rudy for a second.
Yeah, we lost Rudy. But I mean, I agree. I think that we are all one, and we got political real quick on this. But I don't ever shy away from those types of conversations because that's actually what people should be talking about. We should be talking about hard issues. We should be using our voice to just have conversations. And I think, a lot of people, especially all the people that I know, all the creative community that I interact with, everybody's always very willing to take an opinion or take facts and then, use it and maybe change what they're thinking or add it to, their thoughts. And so it's good to have these conversations.
And I think a lot when you're having these conversations online, that there's a tone that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so people, there he is, miss the tone of the conversation, and, it's because you can't have video calls with everybody, that you disagree with, especially if you don't know them online,
Yeah, absolutely agree, Sergio.
That's true.
Are you good? Can you hear us, Rudy?
I can.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a creative question for you guys. Can I ask it?
Yeah.
Okay. So as filmmakers, as creatives, as artists, what are you guys seeing right now that is like movies, documentaries, content that is helping you kind of understand what's going on in the political, spiritual, or like racial climate that we have going on right now? Like, have you guys seen anything that has caught your eye or that, you would like to emulate or do something with?
I mean, the Baldwin documentary, "I'm Not Your Negro," when that came out, that was a really big, like, I saw it at the Tivoli, now that they're moving to the Nelson. But it captured a place in time that we're still in, that we never really absolved ourselves from, like all the same issues that he was talking about and brought up in that documentary are a lot of the trigger forces that are happening now. Is that there's a lot of separation from the people who make the laws and who the laws affect, and even and a lot of these have been out for a while, but even 13th, I rewatch these things because you don't get it out the first time, you almost have to watch it over again. There's a one that just came out called "They Gotta Have Us."
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you guys have watched that one yet, but it kind of does. It's kind of I think it's a mini series, and it kind of shows the history of black cinema and a lot. It has a lot of great recommendations on films, stuff that I hadn't seen in years, and stuff that I hadn't seen before. And I mean, even there's a lot of like independent stuff like Vox and Vice that will do kind of like short pieces. In 30 minutes you learn a lot about part of the world that no one ever talks about. And I just anything historically related. Like I just watched Hamilton, on Google Plus or Disney Plus, and I was a fan of Hamilton and his story, and I just I never been told that way, and the way it was told was going back to being a filmmaker, being a creator, and Miranda just kind of blew me out of the water. Just some people, there's a really mixed bag when you look at the reviews, but it was I thought it was brilliantly done and made and produced.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna do it.
It's 3 hours. I watched it in two parts.
So, Sergio, I have a question about that, just in regards to like filming and just that difference in opinion. Because I am not a filmmaker, but loved it. I'd never been to a Broadway play, anything like that in person. But watching it with my family and just the emotion and the singing and just the verses to that song and just the way that they made that Broadway show, it was like, wow, this is phenomenal. But the reviews were very much like insanely against it in many, many ways. So what do you think about that, Sergio? Because I feel like at the time for 2016, it definitely was like it broke many.
So we'll catch Rudy up. We're talking about Hamilton. Is what we're talking about, Youngblood. But no, I think. I mean, there's people who are not going to think it's hip hop enough, because it's a lot of R&B, and it's a very soft. The parts of it are very soft, and which is perfect for the parts of the stories that he's telling that need to be soft, But I mean, I was moved about his wife and learning that she lived 50 years after he passed, and all the stuff that she created after he had died, and it made me go back and relook at his life and kind of get down the blue click hole on Wikipedia and just seeing what happened to all these other people that were involved, and I think that's a lot of it though. It's just that if you really love hip hop and really love R&B, it might be hard to tell the story of a white slave owner, he wasn't a slave owner, but somebody that was like a founding father that in a whole different time, and turning it into something that's like, has a little edge to it.
Absolutely, and the part you hit around the head. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? I think it's still cutting out.
Yeah, he's kind of cutting out a little bit.
I think it's your guys' signal.
I think it's yours, because I feel like I see Sergio and Gianna.
It's that Canadian Wi-Fi.
I mean, it looks fine now.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, you're in a good place.
It looks good.
You're right there in the house.
Yes.
He's gonna have to walk around like.
Yeah.
Where's the signal?
Okay. We should probably.
Sorry,
Okay, can you hear us?
Earlier, then I woke up. Oh, I got this.
We're jumping in time.
We are. I mean, this is what happens when you do live broadcast.
Exciting. Here it is, everyone.
This is my most exciting one yet. I mean, I've had some good ones, but this tops it for sure.
You know what? As a filmmaker, I have learned that the best thing is to be flexible, especially when you're doing anything live or on a set, because everything's going to happen. Everything is going to happen, and you're going to have to deal with it. And at first I used to get so flustered, and now I'm just like, of course. Yeah, of course that will happen.
And you just sit here.
That's the beauty of being a producer, you know. There's so many different roles that you have to be, you know, that you can't just say, all right, this is going to go perfect. It never does.
Before we lose you at some point, can you tell us about the project that you're trying to do with the Kansas City artists? Is that what you said earlier? I think I cut out a little bit. I want you to have the opportunity to talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Kansas City know me as a bar owner here and there. I've been involved with a lot of opening of bars. I think like 10 or something like.
Okay, what bars did you open?
I opened like Gusto, the Union, Ledger, Top Shelf, Prohibition Hall.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah.
My God.
A few other ones.
Insane. Didn't even know that.
Yeah, so I have a Gusto down here. It's my Kansas City Embassy and PB.
Okay. You're a legend around here.
It's all over the place, yeah. Everybody's calling me. But behind the bar, I have a hostel that sleeps like 6 or 7, and then I have two other rooms. I have a 3-bedroom apartment next door to the bar. It's all connected. And so my plan is I really want to start getting like artists, like collaborate with artists here. And one way I thought about doing that was do like a lottery system, you know, where it's something minimal that kind of pays for, you know, 2 people to come out, or if I can get a group out. But there's a lot of stuff in the works once quarantine's over. But it'd be, you know, and another thing is down here, there's a lot of preventive healthcare that you can do that's cheaper than doing stuff there. If you need to get your blood work done, you know, MRI, CAT scans, that type of stuff. And I know a lot of times if you're in the service industry and you're an artist, it kind of goes hand in hand. When I first opened the first Gusto on Broadway, all we hired was like artists and musicians, because you know, it was the only way I know that they could go on tour and not lose their job. And you know, to be a bartender, you have to have experience as a bartender, but you can't have experience unless you were a bartender. So if somebody would go on tour, I would just make somebody a bar. You know, okay, we'll teach you how to be a bartender. That we have a skill you take with you. So there's a lot of musicians who came up through the bar that didn't have experience, but now still have that skill set. And so,
what made you want to do that? That right there is very compelling to me, because that's a part of you that I hadn't heard before, in regards to you reaching out and supporting the artists in that way. Because you're right, that they don't have the healthcare or the time to leave. You know,
my first 3 bartenders, 3 of my first 3 bartenders, they now own Lucky Boys.
Really?
Dan and Keenan. And so Keenan was in the Architects at the time. And Nora Cross was in the Republic Tigers, and Dan was in Bet Left, I think. And like Dan, he became a bartender by working there. And like Ryan Shank is another he's a real talented drummer. And he also was never a bartender. You know, a lot of people got their first chops at Gusto. And what we were doing with Dan, I had a production company years ago called Socialist Group Media. And it was socialist studios for filmmakers, socialist styles for visual artists, and then socialist sounds for musicians. And then I had I had like Che. There's a in Havana. There's like this one line of Che that kind of rolls around and kind of creates his facade, the side of his face. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. But I had like different visuals like that. And then when Obama ran, it kind of ruined my marketing, you know, because I had like North Korea, like I had like Mao, like and all this shit. Like it was to me it was kind of funny, but I was like, you know, he killed like 20 million people, you know. And you're like, oh. So like it took away from like the actual visual part of it. And but Dan, he had a video YouTube channel, and he was doing music videos for called Gnarly Enterprises. And so we ended up teaming up together and had a studio on Linwood. And we started, what ended up being the South by Southwest Kansas City Showcase. It started off as the Black Box Party for DJs, then the Lose Control Party, and then eventually turned to like the Mid-Wasteland Takeover. We started bringing in actual musicians, and then we turned it over to the MMF, and they've been running it as the Mid-Coast Takeover for a while.
Yeah.
And they've been doing a great job, and they raise money for healthcare for musicians and artists. But in the middle of all that, we would try to send bands, to Austin or we had friends going on tour and they would just lose their job. And so I had the idea to get a bar and just kind of support hire just, musicians. That way they can go on tour and come back and have a job, and somebody else can have training as a bartender that's also an artist.
That's awesome.
But that's the long and short of that story. There's another million different ways to win from there. But
yeah, but it's something we didn't know about you, and I love that. And you probably helped a lot of these artists be able to become, what they are right now, just not even probably realizing, or maybe realizing, just that little small or even the biggest thing that you gave back to them was that opportunity and that access to be able to do what they love to do because you gave them the opportunity to, live their life. I mean, it's so hard. I'm going through this whole thing with the arts right now. So it's exhausting. It's tiring. I cried a little bit in the car right now just because it's like, I don't know. I just feel like, why can't people just be good people and do the right thing and treat people right and just support each other, and support the people that you need to support. And it's just not that easy. And,
and I had partners with the businesses and stuff. And I mean, life gets complicated, life gets weird, and people kind of drift apart and stuff. But I mean, when we started, Gusto and and my partners with the union, it was really a home for musicians. It was really like not everybody that worked there was a musician, but everyone who worked there was a fan of local musicians.
That's awesome.
Dan and Gnarly Enterprises, when I was helping I call myself the executive producer when it was going on, was they did great videos. Like they helped a lot of bands.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bands, I still listen to their music. I still watch the videos. I still remember when it was shot and stuff. It's kind of crazy. It's almost been 10 years. Some of those. It's sweet.
Well, since Rudy isn't coming back on, I don't think he is, possibly not. Sergio, can you talk a little bit about him and like what he's done and who he is, just so that way people kind of know?
Yeah, we'll reschedule it. He's calling me every once in a while, so I'm like,
no, you're good. But I want to make sure that
with them. I think a lot of it is right now he's been quarantined. He's native. He's a champion grass dancer, which is the indigenous dancing that you do with the headdress and all that stuff. He got to spend time at Juilliard for his dancing.
Wow. That is phenomenal.
He's very accomplished when it comes to his activism with the Native Americans, and so yeah, he did Juilliard for a bit. You can find his clips of him dancing, years ago before like pre-apocalypto, maybe even after, and he got that role as Jaguar Paul at an open casting, if you can imagine.
Wow.
Like how complicated, but just to be singled out by Mel Gibson, to get that role. He just got done with a project that just came out. I have to look at the name on it, but it's a Western where he plays two characters. He plays twins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's something hell, like Border of Hell or something. I feel awful now. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
You'll have to give us a link or something, post it on Facebook, and I can share it out so that way people can see what
I know Rod Perlman was in it.
Oh, wow.
A couple other actors. He just finished a film before quarantine with an Iranian director, and he always has kind of these projects he's working on. But he ended up going up to I think it was a Blackfoot reservation in Canada, and then he just kind of got quarantined in. So,
okay. That I couldn't understand what he was saying. So that's where he's at right now. He's in Canada at the Blackfoot reservation. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So now he's been up there since quarantine.
Yeah, he's been there since April, I think.
Wow.
So I've been trying to get him here. He's actually a really good cook. He's a good chef. He loves cooking. So I told him I have a kitchen I'm not doing anything with.
There you go.
Right, come on down.
Actually, what the cool thing that he did was last year he was invited by the government of Mongolia for their native their Mongolian Olympics, because it's a very indigenous culture there. Like Genghis Khan culture. That's just you have all these 1,000-year-old sports that they still practice yearly. And so he went up there as a special guest of the president of Mongolia.
Oh my God.
It's all great stuff. I'm just feeding you stuff to talk to him next time.
Yeah.
But no, he was up there, and one of the restaurants let him cook for like a week, and he just sold out every day. Just whatever he wanted to cook. But he's a super solid guy. We met. They were mutual friends, and they were both like, "Hey, we both are, in the filmmaking, like you guys should know each other." And then whenever he came to KC, and we just ended up hitting it off, and
how long have you all been friends?
So there's a couple projects we've talked back and forth about, kind of maybe collaborating on, but nothing concrete yet.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that he couldn't make it through, and definitely will reschedule, because love to hear more about his story. And wow, I mean, just from the little bit that you said, a very accomplished person in the arts, especially, and very passionate about his community and all communities, and would love to talk more about that with him.
He'll be going back to Long Beach, LA, as soon as he can.
Okay.
Because I've been helping him get some stuff back home, and so once he's in LA, I can't imagine. I mean, he's out in the middle of nowhere. I can't imagine, and that's that great.
Yes, since April, and that's I'm sure.
Yeah. Hence the beard. He's like
yeah. I mean, he showed us earlier too. There was you could just see for miles. So
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's another kind of tragedy of just reservation land. I mean, it's like you're not getting necessarily the best technology. That digital divide is very real in a lot of places in the country. And you were saying you were raised in Southwest Kansas. I spent a lot of time in Dodge City and Liberal. And
I'm from Garden City.
Garden, there too, yeah. Yep. Was that the world's largest public pool?
Yes, but they're closing it, so that's very sad. But that's it. They have it's called the Big Pool.
It's the world's largest.
It was the world's largest free public concrete pool. Yeah, public concrete pool.
Never
the elephants would go at the end of the season for the last day. They would have the elephants from the zoo, because it's right next to we have a zoo. They would have all the elephants come and play in the pool. That's how big it was.
Yeah, I worked in for National Beef, believe it or not, for years. So I was in Liberal and Dodge City. I was their insurance underwriter when I was 18.
Oh yeah, that's the industry down there. That's I think my parents worked for National Beef too, way early on in their careers.
It looks like we have Jessica Montoya talking about the pools. Is that your family, Ruby?
Oh, that's my sister. She's in the other room. I appreciate the support.
Yes, we do. We appreciate it so much, especially with all the technology problems. So thank you, Jessica, for being here with us. We appreciate it. We appreciate you, Sergio, for sticking around. And Ruby, do you have any questions for Sergio? I know this kind of got all a little.
Yeah. Well, I really want to. I really want to dive into filmmaking, because so just to give you some more background on me, Sergio, I did not. I grew up in Southwest Kansas. I moved to Lawrence, and I attended KU. I started off doing fine arts. So, I mean, a couple of years after studying fine arts, I kind of figured out, okay, I don't know if I can make money being an artist. So when I got to KU, I switched over to journalism, and then I switched over to Latin American studies. Still not doing filmmaking, but I was always interested in it. Finally, there came a point where I told myself, okay, I have to pursue this because this is what I want to do. I ended up doing costume design for a feature that some friends owned a production company in Lawrence, and so I was able to get on that feature film, which is on Showtime. It's called Goodland, if anybody wants to go watch that and support my work.
Yeah.
And so then I got into filmmaking, but not having studied anything, not having really worked in film until I did a couple of short films and then did that feature. Then I started to learn kind of what it takes to produce and direct and to write, and really what I really learned was the art of collaboration. So filmmaking is highly collaborative. You really can't do everything by yourself on a grand scale. So what I'd like to ask you is, how do you handle collaboration? How do you maneuver with all the different types of people that you're going to run into on a project, from, you know, pre-production through production and post-production. How has that been for you?
I mean, I generally enjoy it. Really, I have a lot of patience. Yeah, I come from a big family. My mom's one out of 21 kids. My dad's like one out of like 14 or 15. Like, so we have like a big family, and also like to me like opening a bar and making a movie are both very complicated and inexpensive hobbies. You have to deal with so much that I always, like on set they always call me the ambassador. Like there's like my core group of people, because I've always been pretty good at finding and splitting the difference between stuff, you know, and going from like reading a script and giving notes to the writer, you know, to casting. Like it's just, I try to like really just not be too much of one thing, you know what I mean? Like you kind of have to, even if you don't agree with the director or one of the other producers or, you know, the cinematographer, the DP, it's kind of like you have to, everyone wants to be heard, you know? And then so I think that's what I generally enjoy. I just enjoy people. So like, I just enjoy like kind of hearing both sides. And then to me, it's kind of like a Tetris to like figure it out, like how to like get them to agree. And then at the end of the day, you know, you make a movie that hopefully outlives you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I enjoy it. I don't think to me, it's not a big problem.
Yeah, I like it too. I think that's actually one of my strengths as a filmmaker, is that I'm able to kind of maneuver a bunch of different types of situations. But it's just been a real learning experience, especially doing it here in the Midwest and in Kansas City in general, because we don't have like a large film community here, but it's like a very tight knit, and there is a community here. And so I think
there's a fraternity, you know, in KC that's a film community, you know what I mean? But that's not the community that's really making like the I mean, some of them are, and not to say everybody, you know what I mean? But like if anybody's like gonna close you off from like a society of artists, you know, they're not the real artists, you know. So like I mean, like, was Moat one of your professors, Kevin?
No, I never took any film classes.
But see, like, so someone like Kevin, like he, you know, has been there maybe 20 years at KU, you know what I mean? But he was always doing something somewhere else, you know. And then when I did my first film, I was like 19 or 20, and I living on my car essentially, driving to LA to go work on this project. And not that I could probably ever do that again, but at the time it seemed reasonable, you know. But we had Carmen Cardini from the Godfather films, Demetrius Navarro, who plays the original Hector in The First Friday, like the kid from Last Action Hero, my girl too. Like no one like super big, you know what I mean? But it was just funny, like, because like that, just to be in Hollywood and kind of like viewers go like, oh, I saw, you know, like stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I think for us, it's important to bring people into KC, you know, or I mean, or tell a really good story in KC and not really worry about the community, you know. Like, you know, it's all about collaboration, but you don't have to collaborate with the community. You collaborate with individual artists.
Ah, I see. Well, and I feel like Queer Eye really did that, Deanna. And then you were a part of that, and you were able to kind of see that firsthand, how they were able to come into Kansas City and bring in that, you know, that community and that audience.
Oh, 100. Yeah. Go ahead, Sergio. Sorry.
I think that every niche, you know, I mean, there's almost a little pretension in, you know, and sometimes it's a little, it's hard. It feels, how do you say, you feel insecure, you know, trying to like be a part of it, you know, you're like, oh, like I'm trying to, you know, but honestly, when you get to know the people, like they're all very welcoming, you know, embracive, you know what I mean? Like it's just, I think it's just hard to get over that first hurdle, but like, I think you just got to find the artist that you like and then work with them, you know? I mean, everyone in Kansas City that's an artist, I feel is mostly reachable and tangible. Like you can like even if you're a fan of theirs, like they would be happy to like talk to you, you know, or any artist, you know.
No, I agree. And going back to that, Ruby, with the Queer Eye in the film industry, I'll be completely honest. the film community has probably been more welcoming and accepting than actually like the art part of it for me. It's like this amazing like community of people that are just like, I don't know, it just feels different, and no matter what, I can reach out to any of them now, and they will talk to me like just like a normal person. And I can't even explain what filmmakers how that is, because it's coming from the inside out and being a part of their world. I was so intimidated because these people are like skilled at their job and they do it amazingly. But for them just to be like, oh, I'm here and I want to hear your story. Like, it wasn't just about filming it. It was about, I want to hear it too. I can't even explain filmmakers and their amazing personas. Well, it's awesome.
I think what unites all artists is the storytelling portion of it, right? Like we all just want to take something real and we want to illustrate that in whatever medium we have to the masses or to other people, just, to inspire. I know for myself, I want to tell my story and other brown and black stories so that young brown and black kids see that, it's possible that whatever they want to do, whatever their dreams are, that they can do them. So I think it always goes back to story for me. And I think that's what really unites everybody. Even, musicians, they're always, breakup stories for them. They're singing about stuff. So that's always what brings us together.
The great thing about filmmaking is the technology is getting better and cheaper every day. I mean? Like you don't need so much to have like the resources to make a movie. I mean? Like people are shooting movies on iPhones nowadays, with wireless mics and like really simple lighting. Like you can go for it. It's kind of amazing because like when I first started doing film, like I said, I was like 19. It's 20 years now. I'm 39. And we were still shooting on like cassettes and film and stuff. If you can imagine post-production, rendering and cutting and all that shit, like
I don't want to.
That was a year process at least by itself. It's like now I have like a little film editor pro on my phone. I'm just like, okay, add a filter and
it's very different. Well, even the fact of having these, like even StreamYard, for people that don't even know anything about podcasts and things like that. I mean, you're just doing it and pay a little bit of money and you learn how to tell your story in that capacity. So
I think it's kind of happening everywhere in the world. Like Nigeria has a really big film community. There's lots of parts of Africa that have their own film community.
Wow.
No one ever here will ever see. But like Bollywood, I think at this point, I mean, I don't know how many times more than Hollywood makes. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Like, there's just so many films. It's just their own genre. And I would love to see Latinos like have their own like kind of like new golden age of cinema. Like you look at these old movies. If you go to my bar, I printed out like old movies from the 50s, Mexican movies, and I have like little posters kind of everywhere.
Love it.
Just because the bar is probably built in the 50s, and so I kind of wanted to accent it with some stuff in the 50s. So I have old pictures of Puerto Vallarta, and I have all these old movies. That most of them I've never seen, but just the artwork is just so cool. Like Pedro Infante and Cantinflas.
Wow.
I hope to see that in person, actually. To see all those posters in person one day.
100%. I got room, like I said.
All right. I'm not Mexican. I will take you up on it. I get that from my dad. Whenever his family's like, "Oh, come visit," he'll be like, "Okay, here I am."
No, my friend. I have Sarah Romero, who's a really talented special effects and makeup artist in Kansas City. She spent years doing producing for Strange Music, but she's coming down in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So she'll be my first KC artist. I'm going to kind of try to collaborate some ideas with.
We're going to have you and her back on.
Yeah, when she's down here?
That'll be great. And then maybe you can show us your bar. Like you can
I'll do the
your camera. Together. That'd be really cool. We'll set that up for sure.
100%.
Ruby, you're going to have to come back so that we can be on here and talk more about it.
I'm working out better. Like I said, I was trying to plan it. I didn't know that the Wi-Fi would be such an issue, but when he's back in LA, it'll be fine.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Ruby, do you have any last questions for Sergio before we go?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is kind of a running question always, but Sergio, what's inspiring you right now? What are you inspired by? What stories? I know you mentioned like the environment, but is there anything else that you're really passionate about that you think people should be tapping into?
Like the immigrant story. There's a script that I'm finishing. I finished my first draft. You need drafts and drafts and drafts, but it's a story. Have you ever seen El Norte? It's an old movie from the 80s.
That sounds
really
familiar.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's in Spanish, but I think it won. I think maybe an Oscar or a Cannes Palme d'Or like in '83. But it's called El Norte. And so the story I just always remember just touched me when I just watched it as a kid. And so I've been writing this story, and it's especially now when you're looking at like the detention centers, you know, and like no one wants to leave their house. We talked about this last podcast, you know. I mean, no one's like freely leaving like their home and their family, you know, unless they really want, unless they really need to, you know, and they want to find a better life. And so I'm writing a story right now that it starts off in Spanish, and it's a story about a family that migrates legally to the United States to reconnect with a brother who came illegally, and it kind of shows the duality of their lives, you know, like what one can do and what one can't do, you know. And as the family becomes like immersed in the culture, then the subtitles change. So you know, so it's Spanish with English subtitles, and it changes as the story goes to English with Spanish subtitles. So
Wow!
The idea is to connect, you know, both markets and both stories, you know, so everyone can understand it. And so,
wow,
I love. Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome.
I love
the story's crazy. It's kind of a dark story, but if you guys want to read it, I'll send it to you.
No, I would absolutely love to, because I was actually talking about this with a couple of people. The fact that you're you're telling the story onto two parts, right? The part that someone came here legally, and the other part of the family came here illegally, and the two ways that you have to work together to because it's like they divide you, right? And it's just. It's so impactful, and I'm so glad that you're talking about it, because it has to be talked about, because that happens every day here in the United States, right? And that's a story that needs to be told.
Well, it's kind of crazy that, like, I'm not sure if about 8 years ago there was like a lime shortage. I'm not sure if everybody remembers that. There's an avocado shortage.
I remember the avocado.
Yeah, there was an avocado shortage. Being in the bar business, we had a lime shortage. Like, no one could get limes. They're charging like $2 a lime. It was, you know, crazy. And what was happening was the cartel in Michoacan was hijacking the trucks, you know, for payment, you know, for a tax. And so, because they start figuring out that a truckload of limes or avocados is worth $20,000-$30,000, you know. And so, yeah, in KC, you can get limes. There was a whole few, like, months and months. And so the story kind of starts there, like, you know, somebody in the States is pissed off that they can't get a lime at a bar, and it cuts back to like why it's happening. Some guys getting beat up with a fucking machine gun, you know, beat up, you know, by the cartel, you know. And
damn.
And so the story takes place in Kansas City. Once they leave Mexico, it takes place, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, somewhere in one of the Mexican Kansas City's neighborhoods. So, so there's a couple actors. Another actor I worked with is Sean Paul San Pedro. He's really, really talented. He's in a lot of reality TV. He was in Queen of the South. I'm sure you guys watched
really?
Yeah.
Yes.
He played. Do you remember in the first few episodes before her boyfriend's killed? And she takes over him and his cousin. Like he plays the cousin.
Oh my God! So is he from Kansas City?
No, he's from Miami. I shot my second movie in Miami, and then he played the co-lead on that one.
Wow.
And then he moved to LA. I've been really lucky. A lot of the artists that I've worked with, like in other markets, you know, like I've gotten creative careers, and you know, he's married, has 2 kids, you know, has his wife in LA. They have like a yoga studio, and he still does TV. Like he's like on CSI and stuff. Like, it's funny because I always it's funny when you're watching something, you're not expecting to see somebody you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know that hot dog that's getting arrested by iced tea.
Right, iced tea.
CSI,
Just a Friday night.
Right.
watching your friend on TV with iced tea.
Nice. No, I appreciate it. It's giving me the opportunity to make good relationships with people watching Apocalypto as a kid. I never thought I would be friends with Rudy Youngblood. That's crazy.
Yes.
And, he and I talk almost every day and talk back and forth about projects. And Sean Paul and Pedro, they're all great people, and it's nice. And I really want to find some kind of middle ground in Mexico. I can bring Latino artists here. And there's a great art community here. They shot Night of the Iguana, the Elizabeth Taylor movie, down here, and so it has this whole kind of golden, this beautiful age of Hollywood that still exists here because of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have
John Houston. Go ahead. Sorry.
You're gonna have to get us on the next podcast, show us around. That we're gonna do that, so we can kind of see where you're at, what you got going on, your bar, and I'd love to be able to broadcast that to people.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi's fine. Sorry, Rudy, I'm not talking to you.
Rudy's over there like,
no words can't go. He'll be.
They're friends. They can do that to each other.
Exactly. They can. I tell you, live broadcast. What can you do?
Yeah. But thank you for having me, and thank you for the questions and everything. That was fun.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, Ruby, bringing up all the filmmaking, and definitely because there's a lot of future filmmakers out here, or people that want to do it, don't know a lot about it. Like you said, the community is kind of small, and if you don't know the people, you probably don't know, a lot of the networks that could help you. So, Sergio, can people reach out to you then? Through Facebook
I'm on Instagram. I'm Sergio Damiano.
Okay.
My name's Sergio D. Acosta. You can pretty much find me if you look that up.
Okay.
Google Sergio Kansas City. I come up with some shitty stories, but I'm completely accessible. If anybody wants to do a project down here, and we can fake the Colombian mountains.
There you go.
Sure.
I really do want to read that script. I think it's so awesome that you're doing for our production company, we were throwing around ideas on doing a bilingual sort of situation too. Once you cross the border, then it goes completely into the next language. So I'm interested to read that story, and I would love for you to send it to me. Please send it to me.
I'll just kind of off, but I'll friend request you, and I'll just call you and I'll tell you the pitch, and then.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. See what happens?
Right?
Ruby's going to be down in Mexico, filming and starting her own.
Everybody said he'll invite us, so I'm going to
The next podcast, she's going to be down there.
Getting tan.
Getting tan. Exactly. Oh my gosh. I appreciate both of you so much. I appreciate you being on here till almost 8 o'clock. Sorry, but please tell Rudy, Sergio, that we appreciate him. Hopefully we can get him back on. Definitely want to hear his voice and, his story. Thank you for sharing it though for us.
No problem. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be happy to.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody. And thank you to Jessica for being here with us and saying the amazing comments. It looks like we have another one, Walter. He is saying hello to everybody. So, thank you, Walter, for being here with us too. But these will be up on Instagram and Anchor, and so I'll share all those, and hopefully we can get Rudy back on. And Sergio, will you be back with us, showing us your bar and beautiful artwork and movies that you have going on down there in Mexico, for sure.
Yeah, anytime. I'm here for you.
All right. Everybody, good night. Thank you.
Bye all. Thanks.